Hi, it's Patrick. I'm going to go over how to create the mobile learning or M-learning project. Now, back in the day when we were doing this for a long time, we would use this fluid grid setup that was a part of Dreamweaver. Dreamweaver now uses Bootstrap, and there's a lot of different templates you can use and other ways to do this, but I'm going to show you how to create a mobile learning instructional or educational web page using Bootstrap. Now, the idea with a mobile learning instructional web page is it's something that's really designed for people to use their phone for. And therefore, it's usually something that gets students out of the classroom, whether it's going through a museum or doing other types of things, collecting data for a science project or taking pictures or architecture, you name it. It's assuming that students are out moving, walking around, and they're using some type of mobile device. However, because mobile devices vary so much, you still want to use a responsive design, which basically means it will adjust to whatever screen you have. So here's an old example that we have, and you can see how it goes from a 3-column layout to a 2-column layout. I mean, a 3-column layout to a 1-column layout. So it's not like using percents where it would still keep the 3-column layout on the phone, but rather it's adjusting so it works better with a mobile device into a 1-column layout. There are other ways that you can even adjust the font size, say for the headings based on the size of the screen and other things. But for this, it's just a real basic entry into using Bootstrap and Dreamweaver. So in this case, I'm going to recreate this web page using Bootstrap and Dreamweaver. Now, I've gone ahead and created a folder on my desktop. I have some images I'm going to use in place of these. I have a banner image I'm going to use. And I have this text just right here. So I'm going to go ahead and use some of these assets, if you will. But the first thing that I always do if I'm using a Bootstrap layout, maybe not the first thing, but often it's easiest if you start with creating a new site. And so I'm going to call this mobile. In this case, I'm not going to worry about setting up so in this case, it's telling me that I already have a site called mobile. So I'm going to go back, manage sites. I'm going to rename this old one so I can show you the new one. Alright, so I'm going to create a new site. I'm going to call it mobile. And I'm not worried about the server information right now. I just really want to set it up on my desktop so I have the mobile going. Alright, so I'm going to hit choose and I'm going to hit save. Now I can see all those little assets, if you will, that I put in here. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new file. But unlike before, I'm going to actually choose a framework. And I'm going to choose create new. And so this is why it's helpful to create a new site, because if not, it wants to reuse your old Bootstrap. I'm going to uncheck pre-built layout because I don't want to mess with that. This is a real basic page. And so when I do this, it creates a Bootstrap CSS, which I won't use because you don't really want to make it writable because you don't want to mess with it. And a couple JavaScript things, and these are what help make this page responsive. Now, it likes to be in live mode rather than design mode or view when you are working with Bootstrap. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save this. I'm going to save it in my site. And you notice that when I do this, it created folders already to put this Bootstrap, JavaScript, and CSS already for me. Now I'm going to go one more step. I'm going to create my own CSS that I can add my own things to. So I'm going to hit create. I'm going to save it. I'm just going to call it mobile. I'm going to save it in my CSS file. So now I've created it, but it's not attached yet. So I'm going to take one more step and attach it. Alright, so now I'm ready to go. I've created a new site, I've created a new page using Bootstrap, I've created my own CSS. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my cursor down here where it says line 14 under body code goes here. I'm going to go to the insert panel and I'm going to add a container. Now you can add a fluid one if you want something that's going to kind of adjust the whole page, but if you kind of want more of that kind of narrow or fixed width kind of view, even though it will adjust, or max width kind of. You just sit container. And so in this, I want to add some space because what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add a grid row with column. So in this case, even though the original had 3 columns, I really think 2 is enough. So I'm just going to do 2. And you can see that it gives me a place for my content to go. I'm going to also add a header and a footer. If I remember right, it doesn't have to actually be within. As long as it's in this container that I created, I'm good to go if I remember right. Okay. So what I'm going to do in this header is I'm going to add my h1 tag, and I'm going to put an image in here, a banner image that I created. Now in this case, I just Googled create web banner. You can actually do Google image search and find some things like this, but I just used one of these web banner tools that I found. So I found an image that had rights that I could reuse. I created this and I downloaded it. And so I'm not going to go into this, but it's just, this is befunky.com. There's other ones out there. I think I chose the Facebook layout with text on the side, but really, you can explore and have fun with it. So in this case, I'm going to choose responsive image. And down here where it says image placeholder, I'm going to click on my folder here. Actually, I'm going to hit cancel first. I'm going to go back to my folder, and I'm going to make sure that all of those assets that I have are actually in this images folder. So it just created this images folder for me. That's my old one. We're not going to mess with that. All right, so I'm going to take this image file, image, and actually I think it was looking in the old folder, but I'm just going to call that and do images. So then down here, go back to mobile, go into images, Yellowstone banner, and there it is. So alt text, we'll save this. And it's basically telling me this other image isn't there. That's fine. Okay, so this should be working exactly the way I want it. So now I have this text basically from the other page that I'm just going to use. So I'm going to copy this. So this content goes here. I'm going to do the same thing with this other content. So it's just having paragraph tags and H2. I've already used my H1. And I'm going to do the same thing down here. Now these images, and even this video, there's a video here that wasn't playing right. I'm not going to worry about that just yet. Right now I'm just trying to get this content in here so you can kind of see what I'm working with. Okay, so definitely some dead images and stuff like that, but that's okay. So let's save it. Let's go in my folder here. And let's click on this mobile and see what it looks like. Okay, so let's explore Yellowstone. Got these dead images here showing the alt text, that's fine. And then you'll notice that when I take it and I adjust it, it goes and it's responsive, just like I want it to be. Alright, so I went back, I made these H3s instead of H2s, and then I'm going to play with adding an image now in this. So I'm going to image, wants to know before, after. I'm going to do search. Image, before, after. Video. And I could play with nesting or do some of the other options here. I'm just trying to give you an idea. And right now, I'm not going to take the time to add the alt text, which is really important, but I just want to now preview this. Okay, so you see this. And so you could probably even get rid of this text here, these headings, if you wanted to. And there's other ways that you could play with this. But just to kind of wrap up this, you could also add some color in different ways. So I could go here, and this is where my CSS so let's go with olive, but we also have a container. I think it's a tech. I think it's a class, not an ID, but I say background. So let's just go ahead and preview this. And honestly, over here, you could add, so you could do something like maybe you want your H2s to be olive. And so you could play with that. So let's just save and preview. So here's an idea. We have this kind of web banner. Color scheme kind of works. The screen's not exactly the same color, so I could play with it. You could also probably, rather than have these gray, this kind of green might be really nice. But you basically see how this works, exactly the way you'd want. And you'd want to test this on a couple mobile devices to see. Want to add some footer text, I could add more CSS, but just like that, created a real basic web page using Bootstrap in Dreamweaver. And so try to play on, have more consistent look. We could definitely add this video, and so that could be done under here, or it could be just something that you want the learners to watch after this. Sometimes too, rather than Google search, you might have specific links that they click on to search for them, because you don't want them to have to take time typing stuff in. But hopefully this gives you a real basic idea of how to create a basic page using Dreamweaver's Bootstrap. Thanks.